Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. To some and peace out to the rest of you. Hit the share button because the message is more important than the messenger. I'm going to go ahead and try to make this quick, so I'm speaking quickly for that purpose. Fortunately, on YouTube, you can slow down or speed it up. Same on Odyssey. I should have put this message behind a paywall, but I decided not to for this reason. I am making this free in the interest of the public benefit of our people. I posted an image of some of my students sitting at an odd angle, and that was based on where the camera, the classroom camera was, so that the screens would be visible to that camera to prove that they were not cheating because they were taking an exam when I photographed them. The biggest guy in the middle of the image is the one whom I told you all was he was a little rank. He was a little ripe. And I told y'all this for a reason, but I didn't tell you what the reason was. So I want to commend my commentator who said, "Yo, Black, it seemed like you sneak dissing." I wasn't. However, that commentator was willing to take up for someone he never met, doesn't know, who doesn't know him. He was right in his intention. But I didn't show the student's face, and there was a reason for it. That was because I wasn't trying to shame the student. I was trying to set you all up to learn his lesson. And this lesson has to do with what I talked about in the uploads before that. It's all going to tie together. That student, nicknamed Big Man, had to play catch up the night before. Now, he wrote an essay that was fire. But in order to write the essay, he had to do a lot. He pretty much had to cram to get himself ready for that because he didn't study enough beforehand. He didn't take what I told him. He fell behind because he wouldn't do what I said. Now his speaking is still up. He speaks Niglish. Niglish. I don't know how to, it's just this really broken combination of Arabic and English. And I've told him before, you are not going to continue speaking this broken English that you do. But when he writes, he has time to think about what he's saying. And he actually taught himself, along with me teaching him, how to write correctly. And he taught himself synonyms. He's really focused on that. He can't pronounce synonyms correctly unless he stops and thinks about it. But he knows what they are, and he teaches these things to himself. He used advanced vocabulary in his writing. First time he wrote that well, got a 95. He's the only one this whole semester to write an essay good enough to get a 95%. But he had to cram in order to get to that level. And I'm telling you about him cramming for a reason. When you play catch up like this guy was doing, you got to give up something. He had nothing left to give up but his hygiene. So he came in on test day stanky. Took the exam, went home, he probably crashed, took a shower when he woke up. With his stanky self. That day. Just that day. That's what I was going to point out to you. Now, this relates to my previous uploads about not going to Thailand and paying for play anymore. I don't want this to happen to us, and Passport OG covered this, going the conservative route and the benefits that it has. Look, understand something. I don't need Tinder. I don't need any of these other dating apps. The reason why I posted and I said that I am going to see my wife and my girlfriend, should I tell them about each other? Well, those of you who know me already know they're the same woman. Hey, they get along just fine. It's the same one. My wife is my girlfriend. But I also do this to gently remind you that marriage is supposed to contain romance, ideally. Romance is one of those things that you can cultivate, you put into it, and you can get it back as long as she has that inclination. Now, Mr. Samuels has talked about marriages involving logic as well, and they do involve logic. They're supposed to. But see, logic does not mean that romance can't be there. Doesn't mean that at all. Romance does not mean that romance is not a fantasy. It simply means that when the logic is there and the practicality is there, you still fancy each other. Fancying your partner does not mean that the fantasy is real. It's not that. But reality can be stranger than fantasy, but it can be better than we expected. It's not completely impossible. You have to go where it is that women can fancy you. And the funny thing is that in Black America and in Black Britain, they can't. If you're not a knuckle dragging N19, they can't fancy you. But in Thailand and in the Philippines, where they were more than would tell you they prefer a white foreigner, they still can prefer you, ironically. They can fancy you. And that creates the room for the romance. Romance best belongs in a marriage. My parents have it. I had it and I have it again now. That's the sound of her laughing right now on the phone with her friends, if the microphone can pick that up. She doesn't want me to tell people this. Khalid Amri, who was an Emirati vlogger living in Dubai, vlogged a lot about his marriage with his wife, Salama Muhammad. That's her name. And I have heard that they're getting a divorce. Now, I don't know, I haven't been able to confirm it, but I've read rumors that they're getting a divorce. So it does good to have your marriage private, but mine is private. You don't know who I am. You don't know who my wife is. A few listeners who have met me in real life know who I am, still don't know who my wife is. There's only one. And he's not in the US or in Saudi Arabia. He's in another country. And by the way, brother, I hope you get to make that move you're talking about. Believe that. So he's there. And he said that married life is good. He's expecting, I think he said a girl. Forgive me if I got the gender wrong. Bad memory. Charge it to my head, not my heart, bro. But yeah. He is he's expecting. I want this marriage, I want his marriage to have that romance. But see, we all understand the importance of not putting your marriage in the public eye. But you still marry the one that you fancy and that fancies you, and that allows the room for the romance. Believe that. And you want that when you can have it. And that's why I say I'm going to visit my wife and my girlfriend in the same city. And even yesterday, she said, you just want to, because I called her to her face. I called her my wife and my girlfriend. And I even joked, I said, do I think I should tell the two of you about each other? And she said, oh, you just want another wife so bad. And I told her, not really. I mean, that sounds great. But the truth be told, in order to actually be fair, look at the competition. For me to be fair to her, look at her competition. I'm not really sure that I could find one that I could treat equally to how I treat you, because I don't think I'd find one that would treat me as you have treated me. So yeah, I have the right. I'm not allowed to promise you that I never will, but I can tell you that you've played your cards correctly to where it may just not even be practical, that this is better than doing that. No simping, no being controlled. It's just giving credit where it is due, walking that balanced line. I'm not allowed to promise you I never will. And I'm not allowed to just go out and grab the first lady that'll marry me and I can't take care of her and I can't be fair to her. I'm not allowed to do that either. There's a balance to this. There's nuance. You simply played your cards right to make this better. Congratulations. I still advocate polygyny, but you know if it's not a good idea for you or not. But I want for you what I have. I want for you what my parents have. And since we've already gotten a reputation in Pattaya, that's over. What I want is for us to be able to go into other areas as well. Now, most of us in Chiang Mai, it gets cold. And a lot of us brothers, to be honest, we don't really like the cold. So I get it. But I want us brothers to start looking at other places too. Cambodia. I don't know about Laos. But I want brothers to start looking into Cambodia. They don't use skin bleach in Cambodia. I want brothers to start looking at the Philippines more, and not just Manila, but Negros Orientales, Negros Occidentales, Cebu, Ilocano, Visayas. And I want brothers to start to form some of these communities there using the mistakes that have been made in Pattaya as templates of what not to do elsewhere. Because you see, we had a chance to start off with a clean slate. We done already blown it in Pattaya, but that's a freshman lesson. Going the chaste route, the conservative route, has its benefits, its ups, and that's what I want for us. And that's why I said, take this lesson from Atlanta. Don't go elsewhere and be willing to pay for the box. Look, you know what? A lot of you don't want to be judged for it. And I don't like really being judgmental, but we are seeing in real time why walking the better and the chaste route will pay off more in the end. Now, in a place like Pattaya and maybe Phuket, if it's gotten as bad, these ladies may know how to pretend. They may know how to actually play the role. I get it. They may know how to be really polite. But what I also want you to understand is that instead of someone playing that role or someone being polite and maybe even being willing and able to respect you, I still want you to understand that there's better than that. It ain't no fantasy. I'm a red pill man and I know this. No relationship, even a marriage, is not a fantasy, but I still want you to understand that you have the option for good marriages, and I don't want you wasting that. I don't want that. So you guys are already, a lot of you are, relatively speaking, you're not so game goofy. And you would know where to draw the lines. A lot of the times when I hear these wives talking about the games that are played on them, even in the Philippines and in Thailand, it's usually them that have the outright games played on them, to the point that things are not even that well hidden. Like the husband going on the vacation with her so that they're not by themselves alone, but he's posing as the male cousin, you know? I mean, come on. That's damn near opening in your face. They're playing the Wyatts. With you, what they do is they actually hide. If they're playing for pay, then they kind of hide that. And I want y'all to keep that in mind. That's not right. It's somewhat respectful that they would hide that, whereas sisters want you to know, sisters would be like, look, they'll hide it and then they'll bring it out into your face just to be disrespectful. But you don't really, those of you in my audience would be hip to a lot of these games. You really would be. They wouldn't be able to pull these things over on you. You're not easy targets and easy marks, comparatively speaking. In my audience, I mean. Now that we know what some of these games are, though, Even better, I think it's a good idea for us to start to build some communities in other places, population centers, without this whole notion of just paying for play. And some people are going to say, well, if the Passport Joes have done it, why can't we? If people don't let you do it because you're black and they make you pay more, that's racist, yes. But some people instinctively have the knowledge that you are not like other men because you're the original man. Some people instinctively understand this. There are some guys here who know this, and they balk when black men do things of a sexually immoral nature. Even when they think that black men are hornier than everybody else, they still balk at the notion of you being willing to pay for play and throw caution to the wind. They balk at that. I think it's strange. To be honest with you, there are times I look and I say, why brothers make it easy? And keep this in mind. Because of the notion and the ideas about what we have, not just physically, but otherwise too, because of these understandings, we're in a position to where we don't have to pay to play. If we were to go the conservative route, believe you me, if we're there as the option for women to choose to go the conservative route and stay that route, believe you me, we're in a position to negotiate because we have the romance and the junk that they want. Rumors are that we tend to last longer. I don't know how true it is, but if that is a rumor, we are in a position to negotiate. You know what? We do offer romance. You know what? Yes, we do offer a sense of responsibility. You know what? Yes, the ones of us that are over here don't believe in we don't believe in running out on our responsibilities. But by the same token, you're going to do this and that for us. We're in a position to negotiate. You just have to be willing to understand that while better than the US is better, better than Britain is better, that there's still an objective standard as to what is fair. And what is fair is not just only what's better than what you get in the West, but it is actually involving a give and take. That is also um, an objective standard. If you're a Muslim, start looking at the southern Philippines, southern Thailand, Indonesia, and Malaysia. But if you're Muslim, I don't really need to tell you the rules of chastity and what you should be doing. And I understand that there's one guy, I think there's one guy in, I don't know where he is. I don't even know who he is, but apparently, um, apparently he's in one of these places paying for play, wearing medallions and necklaces that say Allah on it. And, I'm just going to tell you, that's drinking, eating just anything. I'm going to tell you, no, you can't play around with this faith. Because if you play around with it, that's going to ruin the reputation for the Muslims. And then Muslims are going to have to start playing catch up in neighboring places. Like my student who wound up having to play catch up. Well, at what expense? He had to come in funky. And I don't want you having to do that with your reputation. And the way to do that is to start off right. And I'm going to tell you an example of how that's done. When I came here, mind you, I got a phone call September, and then January I was leaving, because that's how long it took to get all the paperwork together. So I was finally able to go and come here. And I got transferred to this Bedouin town. And I realized I'm in a new place and I know very little. I don't know what it's like to live here. I know things about the laws, but I don't know what it's like to live here. So I'm going to express appreciation for the things I found that are good. I knew that I was starting off with a clean slate. I had a chance to not only choose my own reputation, earn whatever reputation I really wanted, but I also knew that I had a chance to trailblaze and start to earn whatever reputation for my people that I wanted. I did that and it worked. It worked. I decided that I was going to be as good a representation of us as I could possibly be. And I can honestly tell you that at the end of the day, I wound up winning a popularity contest I wasn't even trying to win. The white Canadian guy that came up here, Muslim like me, did not mesh with the locals as well as I did. Now, eventually, he was able to do so when he learned some manners, and I want him to get full credit for that. He was traumatized, so his situation was not normal. And when he finally got with some of the scholars and learned Islamic rules about manners, his manners were great. They were excellent. So he should get all credit for that. And when he passed away a vastly improved character from the one that first landed here in this country a day before I did. But I also want to point this out, though, about in the beginning, I came with the understanding that I was representing a people in a new town or a new town. I was going to be representing a people. I came with that knowledge. He did not come with the understanding that he was going to be representing people like him of his demographic. He never had to think about that. So he did not really come in ready to walk that fine line in between the two extremes. And the two bad extremes are one, not caring what people think, even if they're right, and being willing to just damage your reputation from the beginning because you don't care. And the opposite extreme of being obsessed with what everyone thinks about you. These are two wrong extremes, and a balance in between is nuanced. But because I came ready for that, I could honestly say that if you are Black and Muslim and English speaking, and you go to that town where I used to live, the first one, they may understand why I became aggressive over time, but they would look at you and they would be ready to meet you and they want to know more about you. They're not going to come and ask you dumb things like, can you rap? Can you dance? No, they'll let you tell them because they learned that already. And even when I became aggressive, they knew why I was becoming aggressive. It was based on things that were in their control that they weren't supposed to be doing by their own rules and standards, and they did them anyway. So they couldn't truly blame me for that. I was allowed to go back and visit. And I was invited to another wedding next summer. Huh. I can't believe it, but yeah. So I'm going to tell you, knuckleheads, that you got a clean slate and you have not completely wiped out all of them. But please do not go elsewhere. And you don't have a reputation for being outright disrespectful in Pattaya. It's not that. But please don't even go and get a reputation for being a bunch of tricks. Please go into other cities and set up population centers of us within Thailand and within other parts of Southeast Asia without that. Because understand this. If I travel to these areas and I'm not recognizable, you still would rightfully be upset if you found out that I was going to these places and passing as anything else. All I ask is that you not give anybody in my situation a reason to do that. Because see, I don't do it. I go to these places and I've stated before, I am vaingloriously proud of Black men, and I wear it on my sleeve. Don't get me in trouble for doing that. And don't get others in trouble for doing that. But I ain't gonna lie, I'm not going to side with us if we go to somebody else's house and act like the stereotypes of our enemies. Not doing it. I hope that what I've said helps and benefits. I mean that. I hope that what I said helps you to be able to find with a wife or wives what I have, what my parents have, what I come from. I want you to get that. It's healthier. Believe me, in the that type of it is healthier in the long run. And these are areas or locations where it's still an option to find these things, because if they're taking care of you and they're really nice to you and respectful of you, then they will appreciate it when you were this way with them. All you got to do is be good back. And that's all we ever really wanted. Most of the time when we were starting our lives off in the States and in the UK, we just wanted somebody to whom we could be good in exchange. That's all we were looking for. Well, now in many parts of Southeast Asia, you got it. You just have to walk the right route and get in touch with the right guys that are also on that route, and get in touch with the dads of the ladies that raised these ladies that are also on that path. That's all you got to do. And you can have that. Hope you find it, gentlemen, the right way. Thanks for listening. As always, Black Heart, Black Mind, Blackout. Assalamu alaikum. Black heterosexual non-select male power because they don't like it. And Black patriarchy until extinction at Judgment Day. Thank you again for jetting black with us on Jet Black Airways, with Jet Black is also a verb. Keep jetting black with us until the wings and the wheels fall off. Gender, justice forever. And remember, if you stay up, you ain't got to catch up.